Hello, I'm Jennifer Goodman with Good Life Realty, and I'm here today with Chris Cobb of Chris Cobb Architect. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born, and how long have you been in Austin?
So I was born in Houston, moved here when I was 4, and was raised in Austin, and so I've been here a long time.
Yeah. Okay, you're not dating yourself, though.
No.
No. We wouldn't. So you've been here since you were 4?
It's been a long time.
A long time. What keeps you in Austin?
Family. Both my parents are here. My sister and her family are here. So it's a great city to live. I think it's probably a better city to move to because you experience it in a different way. Mm-hmm. Growing up here, I've seen a lot of change, and a lot of it's been really good change. But it doesn't have the newness of discovery that moving to Austin, I'm sure, gives people.
The wow factor.
Yes.
It is. Well, you know what? That's a perfect segue because I want to talk a little bit about trends and innovation and your business.
Sure.
So in terms of trends, what would you say right now is sort of the newest innovation you're seeing in the world of architecture or construction even?
Well, probably the biggest game changer I think that's starting to really happen is connected devices, appliances, light bulbs, things like that. It's hard to know the true value of that. I think the real value is going to be the connectivity that provides useful information, useful feedback on electric use and water use. And I think those are going to be the real game changers.
How do you see those impacting?
Well, I think it has the ability to really tie in how you're using something to what it costs you, to use that. So it has the real power to change behavior in terms of electric and water use.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, I guess, because once we're cognizant of the action and what the output is, then it does give us that ability, but so often we're not aware.
You're kind of in a box, you turn on the faucet and the water appears as kind of magic, and you don't think about it until you have to pay the bill at the end of the month.
Exactly. That's true. Those big long showers may be a thing of the past.
Yes, except with teenagers. You don't always have control over that.
Right. I'm not going to get one of those anytime soon, so we're good. What other trends are you seeing in terms of modern architecture, in terms of like the actual design?
I don't really keep up with trends. I try to create architecture and design that's one-off based and work very specifically with clients. And when they show a concern for trends, I try to tell them just to make it work for them. That you can't really predict trends. And if you try to follow the trends, you're usually going to be behind the curve on it and end up with something like an avocado refrigerator, or something that you're not going to be happy with over time.
The 70s are calling.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's funny. It's like stocks.
Yeah.
Like once the public knows, it's too late. So, well, and the thing about a trend is there's a timeliness to it. Mm-hmm. So if you're on trend, you're very much considering the fact that there's a lifespan of whatever it is that you're choosing.
That's right. I mean, I would rather go with basic strategies, principles that are somewhat timeless, that are everyone's going to want for a long time. So things that resonate with people are, abundant daylighting, craftsmanship, warm materials, lots of woods, things like that those kind of transcend a style.
Are you seeing any trends right now in the layout?
So the one thing that has come up that is an interesting one is I've had one developer mention the dual master, and I've read a little bit about that too, that they see it as an upcoming trend with buyers that are thinking ahead to bringing their parents back to where they live. I mean, we live in a society now where travel is so easy, work can take you anywhere. And so they're starting to think ahead of how can I create a house with that flexibility of bringing parents in and caring for them over the long haul. So,
and that's interesting because that's a trend, and I just said trends are have a timeliness to them. that's a trend that is actually more of a lifestyle decision. And given the demographics of our population and that we are living these longer lives, I mean, everybody's going to be hitting 100 soon without a problem, assuming that there's certain health things that they take into account. So with that in mind and people living a much longer life, it makes sense that as a capacity, you now have the ability to bring your parents in because you have built 2 masters.
Absolutely. Like building on the, it's a lifestyle choice. It's also serves as kind of social need in terms of how do we take care of the older generation. There are a lot of different ways to do that today that sometimes it doesn't best meet the needs of people. And so it's another way to do that.
Well, and the other thing is that it hits on affordability, because how many people have really planned maybe to live as long as they have as it relates back to their bank account. So having that ability to bring your parents in and not have to worry about them on an economic sense will be a lot less taxing for, I think, a lot of people as well.
Absolutely.
So that's a really great point that you bring up. Let's take it a step further in terms of design and layout. What are you seeing in terms of trends for the kitchen? I get probably, again, like I try not to frame design in terms of trends, but I think there's certainly a desire that's coming up a lot to have the simple lines, clean lines, minimal trim, just the overall simplicity. And some of it is, I think, driven by aesthetics. I think some of it is ease of use, ease of maintenance. It's much easier to clean a flat slab door on a cabinet than it is one with a bunch of panels in it. Are you seeing any innovation in materials right now? Or have you been using anything that's sort of at the forefront?
There are a lot of innovative products. I mean, a lot of it is driven back to the very basic ideas, I think, of how you construct a building, how it's made of assemblies, and all these parts have to work together. There's always going to be the flashy stuff, the solar panels and LED and things like that. LED is super common now, and price points are coming down, and it's more accessible for the general public. So.
Well, it's interesting because you said they're flashy, which I guess they're getting a lot of airplay, if you will, but they're also very practical.
They're very practical, yeah. And adding in the connectivity, I mean, I'm sure you've heard about the security breaches of the Wi-Fi enabled light bulbs that they've discovered. So,
tell me more.
I don't know a lot of detail about it, but I know it's got some media attention where you can buy a particular light bulb that's Wi-Fi enabled to provide control with your iPhone and stuff, but it can be hacked. And some company or something demonstrated how to hack it, and it was I think it's one of those moments when it's like you can't jump into this technology too quickly. You need to understand what it is and where the vulnerabilities are.
I was listening to a Tim Ferriss podcast this morning, and he was talking about how easy it is to hack into the computer camera.
Yeah.
And he said, so one of the things you may want to consider when you're at home and you're working on your computer is just have a piece of tape.
Tim Ferriss is great.
Love that guy. I love that guy. Listened to 2 podcasts this morning. They were great. What would you say is your signature style?
I try to steer those conversations in a different direction. I come back to principles and values. And so what I'm interested in are things like beauty, connectivity between landscape and buildings, context, these things that can be adapted between the styles, but I think it's what makes the architecture work. I don't think I have a signature style. I think definitely people associate my work with simplicity, clean lines. A lot of people would say it's modern or contemporary. I always try to tap into materials that people can relate to, that kind of have a human warmth to them. So I love rich woods, pecan, Douglas fir, walnut. So anytime I can incorporate woods into the project is a real opportunity and treat.
Yeah, and on the house that you have for the Modern Homes Tour, the wood is kept very simple. Like there's no, I've noticed that glossy finish is gone. Like it's gone. It's history.
Yeah. That's right. And that, I think that covers woods, wood finishes, paints, even countertops. And
everything's moved to a flat.
Everything's moved to a flat, and it's really about the play of light in the space because it cuts down on the glare. So materials that have color to them have more color to them, a deeper quality. If it's a marble and you do a honed finish, like those colors really begin to pop out because you're not looking at light, the source of light that's been reflected off the surface. It's not bouncing into your eye. You're actually looking deep into the surface of the material.
Wow, so there's a whole play on depth. It's not just the color, but it's the depth.
Yeah, I think it makes the material really stand out and kind of sing.
That makes sense. I was also hearkening back to the fact that we have these lives now with like all these gadgets and everything, and so we're constantly being bombarded. And when I'm in those spaces and I feel them, there's a calmness about them because they're not shiny objects.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not really sure why shininess was always so popular. I mean, maybe it's a kind of a throwback to there's an association with shine and gloss with newness and wealth, and maybe it came from that.
But remember when we were kids and you could run and you'd be like, skate on that.
Well, you can still do that.
Can you still do that? Okay, good. As long as that's not gone, that's an important feature. Those were the days, eh? Okay. So what's not hot these days? Shiny things.
Yeah, shiny things. It's as good an answer as any.
What else is not hot though? You're a lot closer to it than I am.
I think complexity. Like I think people really do want simple, clean lines, and that's an idea of value that translates into a lot of different things. So I think there's a underlying desire just to kind of go back to just very simple moves.
Okay, so let's take that a step further, because I think this would be a good topic all on its own, which is the editing to get to simple, right? Editing complexity to get to simple. What are some of the things that you're doing right now? And I do want to talk to you about this more separately, but just as does anything come to mind?
In terms of process to get to that? Like, is that
yeah.
what you mean?
Like, what's that look like? Give me an example.
It's very difficult. Like, as a designer, you're taught all through school and into your career that, we have the capacity to solve real problems in society. And that as designers, we can do it. But that leads to a thought that you want to be too proactive in how you come to your solution. So recognizing that you need to have a level of restraint when you approach a design problem and not try to do too much at once, and distilling it down to a few strong moves is actually probably the most powerful design thing you can do. But it is extremely difficult to have that discipline that it takes to restrain. And even then, you pass it, like you said, to edit it back down, to reduce it back down to the bare essentials.
So that's like a sign of good architecture to me then.
I think so. I mean, I think it allows for a way to experience architecture that's pretty powerful.
Absolutely. Where did you go to architecture school?
I went to Texas A&M.
You're an Aggie.
I'm an Aggie.
And cut.
It's actually funny because I get a lot of surprise at that because I grew up in Austin. So I have to tell people, I went. Did
you have to get like a whole blood transfusion when you went to College Station?
I didn't.
Or
it was really kind of a simple choice. Like,
sure.
At the time, the two flagship universities that, my family could afford, looked at some private options, but I couldn't really afford them. But I grew up in Austin. And so
it's like almost like verboten to go to A&M.
It is. But on the other hand, I just didn't want to go to UT. I mean, in high school, we were going down to the Union and the Drag and Quackenbush's.
You'd already done it all.
I'd done it all. Not all, but
no, for sure.
I wanted to get away. And
understandably.
I wanted to go somewhere really exotic. And
College Station.
College Station, that's
Well, yeah.
it's just a little bit more exotic than, New Zealand.
Can we move one step further and talk about the future now? Because we're talking about the now, which is the trends in now. Where do you see innovation going right now in architecture?
Well, I'm not sure where it's going. Like, I don't know, really, I'm not a futurist. I do, someone was telling me about a presentation that one of my professors that I had at A&M did, and he is kind of a futurist, and he was able to obtain the PowerPoint presentation. He kind of ran us through it really quickly, but there's some really daunting problems that we have to face with population growth and affordability, transportation, and architects definitely need to get involved on the social side of things and help figure out solutions to these problems. Housing in general is a big one. We're seeing moves to the young generation to the core and staying there, and they're not interested in home ownership. And they want the ability to be untethered. They want to be able to move, and how that affects our practice. There's some people that are predicting that our suburbs will be the next slum because no one's interested in owning property there. And so it is important to have these futurists looking out ahead and predicting these trends and figuring out where the roads are to potential success.
So you take the fact that you've got the older generation, you've got the millennials, and then you've got us, which we're the sandwich generation. So that lends itself to like three masters, because I mean, if the millennials are more interested in staying home, not planting roots as much, etc., it will create a different type of infrastructure requirement for us and how our housing is going to play out in the future.
Right.
That's something really to think about.
Yeah, and with that, how that translates over into construction costs, because we're seeing like construction costs at an all-time high. Quality is higher than it's ever been. I think Austin's been ahead of the curve on that. We've got some great contractors in this town that are dedicated to construction as a true science. So we're getting really good products out there. It comes with a cost, and at some point, affordability is definitely going to be something that play in the future. How do we address that need?
For sure. What about from an eco sense? What are you seeing from an eco-friendly perspective in terms of innovation?
Innovation. Well, I think it goes back to that connectivity and the ability to measure usage. I mean, I think there's some big companies that want to get into that space of really having the ability to run reports down to an outlet use. How much is that one outlet in a wall using? And we have the technology, and I think once the big tech players get into this space, it's definitely gonna change. It has the ability to really change behavior, unlike things like a specific material that it's great, but it doesn't necessarily change a behavior. It's important to select the right materials, but the way to the most sustainable future, even beyond that, to how do we improve the environment and not just sustain it, is going to require a behavior change.
If there's one thing that you could recommend now for homeowners to make their home more eco-friendly?
If I had to go with one thing, and it might be a little bit counterintuitive, but I would say make it a beautiful space. Like, make it a space that moves you. Do it right, make it beautiful, because that impacts behavior. If you love your house, you're going to care for it, you're going to sustain it. And I think it's one of the most powerful things you can do. And it's simple, you just have to spend the time to really think through the house and how you're going to use it and the things that matter most to you.
Well, Chris, thank you. for your in-depth consideration of all the questions that we've talked about today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
All right. I'm Jennifer Goodman with Good Life Realty, and I have been here today with Chris Cobb of Chris Cobb Architect. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.